So hi, I'm Siobhan Sarna. Welcome to this very special training about how you can really understand what SIBO and IMO, we'll explain all that is all about, and how to understand what you need to know from Dr. Allison Siebecker, who is a world-renowned SIBO specialist. And this is her proven technique and method that she uses, and she'll explain the origins of it, to treat thousands of patients successfully. So it's a huge, huge opportunity. I'm glad you've made it for yourself. My name is Siobhan Sarna. Hi. And I was just telling some of the folks, Allison, about my book, Healing SIBO, and that, you know, Dr. Siebecker read every single word, did the foreword for me. I mean, really labor of love. And we'll explain how she and I got together to do all this work. But this is about you today. And I've got a couple of housekeeping things that I just want to quickly do. And I'm going to share my screen. This is the gift. I'm going to sneak ahead. This is the gift that you will be receiving if you stay for the hour and 15 minutes. And this is her, Dr. Siebecker is a great baker. So this is her, some of her favorite recipes, including some of her desserts, some chocolate cake, just saying. And there is a SIBO recovery protocol. There's a quick start guide that we're going to be sending you as well. And then over here, that's the quick start guide. This is actually the protocol and the algorithm. We'll explain all of this, just giving you some like juicy incentives to stay until the end, or the hour and 15 minutes, as I said.
That one on the right is the diet quick start guide.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And let's see here. We are very focused on the timing. So I just want you all to know we really respect and appreciate your time. Here's the kitty. That's a kitty. Welcome to the training and Q&A for Dr. Siebecker's proven 9-step SIBO algorithm for healing. I'm Siobhan. That's Dr. Siebecker. One rule, be nice or be gone. It's a public forum, even though it's like a private Zoom, you know. So we stand by that. That's the way we operate. That's what we have for you in store, with a deeply respectful tone in this training. Hardest part of the training. Can you do it? Turn off your phones. Oh my gosh, I thought mine was off. Goodbye world. All right, can you turn off those distractions and just make time for yourself? And then the chat box is just going to be reserved for technical issues during the presentation and beyond. When we do get to the Q&As, I will strictly be answering them from the Q&A box, which is, you know, floating around on your Zoom. You can pop in there with your questions anytime, but the chat is just reserved for tech questions during the sessions, please. There's another kitty. Okay, I'm a cat person. And we're gonna be explaining all of this in just a few minutes. And after the presentation, actually, that's part of the presentation from Dr. Siebecker. And it's 4:04, Allison. So I'm going to actually hand things over to you pretty quickly today. But I do want everyone to know that Dr. Siebecker is an award-winning, from her peers, which is so cool, an award-winning naturopath, a true SIBO expert, not just because of the work she does in terms of health advocacy and spreading the word about SIBO to people, but also because of her relationships between Western medical doctors, traditional doctors, and naturopaths in the natural healing community, and how she's brought that union together in so many ways. I want to show you a couple of things, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. So here she is, with her Lifetime Achievement Award at this age, which is adorable. And this is the algorithm, just a different form in the book. Dr. Siebecker and I are also friends. Thank you for being my friend, Dr. Siebecker. She's also my doctor. And we have the common mission of helping people to be well, with the focus being on small intestine bacterial overgrowth from our own personal experiences, her professional experiences, my professional TV experience, and being having a heart of a healer. And we've pulled it all together for you. Dr. Siebecker and I have traveled together. We've gone to conferences together. We are really into it, to say the least, with a deep mission. Please do stay until the end. There's the SIBO Recovery Roadmap algorithm you'll be receiving, the SIBO-friendly recipes, including a delicious chocolate cake, and the Quick Start SIBO Diet Guide. So with that being said, there's a
Siobhan, before I start
Yeah.
the lecture, do you want to explain what SIBO Recover Roadmap is?
about the origins of it.
Yeah, like just, because like, for instance, let me share my screen.
Okay.
What all this stuff on the sides and all this is all about. Do you want
Okay. So yes, thank you. So we do have, this is gonna be great training. People are coming back their 5th time, right? So it really delivers free information for you. And Dr. Siebecker and I have a very transparent policy, which is we will be talking about the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course at the end of the teaching, just for a few minutes. And if you're interested, we'd love to have you. If you're not interested, we're so glad you're here and that you came to this training. She and I have gone to trainings before where it was a little bit of a bait and switch feel, and we didn't love that. So we were like, we're just going to be full disclosure about it. Here is the algorithm that she has used, and this is the proven method, and she'll explain all of that. And then we have broken out each lesson in this over 40 lesson course with links that will click to that lesson that's attached to this place in the algorithm. It's extremely organized. She's an incredible teacher. She's taught at medical schools all over the world, and she's very high in demand for conferences. She's not seeing patients right now, and this is one of the ways that we have decided to fulfill our mission, which is helping people help themselves. And also, she has a course for professionals called the SIBO Pro course. So if you are a professional, there is a course for you, and it's called the SIBO Pro course. If you are a patient, you are in the right place. Of course, as practitioners, we'd love to have you. We often have you come to these. And that's just in terms of the content of the course itself. Okay, was that good? We covered it?
Yeah,
okay.
Great.
All right, thanks, Dr. Siebecker. I appreciate that. And I'm going to hand things over to you.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. What you're looking at here is an algorithm or a roadmap that is based on Dr. Mark Pimentel's algorithm or map that he created for IBS that has SIBO. So just very briefly, irritable bowel syndrome has been a mystery still is for many people. But Dr. Pimentel and colleagues discovered that the majority, up to 70, 80% of people with IBS actually have SIBO. So he sort of interchanges the terms a lot. Anyway, he made this algorithm working with his patients, not this one, but a similar one, for many years. And he validated that the steps and the training is called 9 steps for healing in SIBO, and it's based on this algorithm. The steps are here. You can see in this image, and I'll go over them. So he used it for many years with his patients and knew it was working. And he also was publishing on various steps, doing research and publishing the results. He is a researcher. And so, for instance, he did studies on the antibiotics, on the elemental diet, on the Prokinetics, etc. And so once he had those published, and he had used it for, probably like 7 or 8 years, then he published his algorithm. And what myself and Dr. Steven Sandberg-Lewis did, my colleague, we were working together, and we altered his algorithm, Dr. Pimentel's algorithm, to bring in some of our naturopathic treatments that we do, and just some other things that we found were effective with our patients. So, for instance, we brought in herbal antibiotics. Diet was always in the algorithm. By the way, I can't get my cursor to look like a laser or something more noticeable. I hope you can see it. It's the view I'm on, and I'm having computer trouble. So anyway, I'm down here on the left circling diet. And we added diet in a prominent position. So we made some changes, and then we used it for many years, and then we published it in some articles. We found it to be very successful. And that's why I want to share it with you. It's based on excellent, bones from Dr. Pimentel, and then we made some changes, and we've used it for 12 years now successfully with our patients. So it's just a wonderful framework. So let me take you through it. And basically, before I briefly give you the bones of it here, the concept here is that it's an organized, methodical plan and approach, like step by step, of what to do for SIBO. And I really wish that everyone who's dealing with SIBO, whether as a practitioner or a patient, had this in their head or in front of them. because it is so extremely helpful and it really increases success. You don't have to follow everything exactly. We can always customize to an individual situation as needed, but the general plan is really important. So at the top here is when you suspect SIBO. And so, you don't know what's going on, you just have symptoms. So what are the symptoms of SIBO? They are abdominal bloating, pain or discomfort, constipation, diarrhea, or both, heartburn, indigestion, food sensitivities, burping, farting. Usually there's more than just one of these symptoms. And these are the symptoms of IBS, because obviously SIBO causes IBS in a majority of cases. Okay, so that's your suspicion. Next, first and second line therapies. So when you have symptoms, you might try some home remedies and some simple treatments to see if it helps. Or if you go to a practitioner, they may, before they figure out what's really wrong with you, you have these symptoms, they might just try some things first. So that's first and second line therapies. But if those things don't work, then it's time you need to get a diagnosis so that you can get your treatments more targeted. You need to know what is wrong so you can use the right treatments then. So number 3 would be the SIBO breath test. Diagnose whether it's SIBO or not. And then we move on to treatments, the main treatments. So that now I'm right here in this big purple one. We have 3 main antibacterial treatments we use to reduce the overall bacterial load. And then, so those are pharmaceutical antibiotics, herbal antibiotics, and elemental diet. And then we also have diet. What I did here is I didn't connect it to these boxes or even to the 3 treatments. It's listed up here, 3 options plus diet, just to show it has a separate position, because it isn't antibacterial in nature the way the others are. Like, it's not like an antibiotic, and it can be used really anywhere along the journey. And so to exemplify that, I just sort of let it hang out on the side as in space there as its own box. It has a lot of reasons we can use it, provides a lot of excellent support. So after you do your antibacterial treatment, when you're done with that, you take a prokinetic to hold the gains that you just made, actually. Then we assess. So if a person, moving over to the left here, if a person is really better, then we move on to prevention. And that's down here. If a person, moving over to the right now on this algorithm, if a person is not better, really, maybe they're somewhat better, maybe they're not better, that is the perfect time to retest. So take another breath test. The main reason that this is the perfect time to do that is because we need to be sure that the SIBO is still present or not, because sometimes what happens is the treatment worked and your SIBO is gone, yet you still have symptoms. And we need to know that, because we don't want to just keep treating something that isn't there anymore. Many people have more than one thing wrong with them at the same time. In fact, something has to be causing the SIBO, and those things, whatever's causing the SIBO, can have symptoms of its own in addition to causing the SIBO. So we need to figure out, but even aside from that, people can have sort of corollary things at the same time. And the symptoms that I described of SIBO and IBS are nonspecific. And nonspecific means they're not specific to SIBO, like a slew of other conditions, a slew can cause them. So that we need to know that. So if your test is negative, that's when you consider other diagnoses. But what happens most of the time is the test is actually still positive. And we actually use the test to help guide our treatment. So it's very helpful to have it. And then what we do is we do another round of treatment. So that is indicated here by this long purple arrow that comes back up to the treatment box. So we retreat, come back up here. And then you just, you pick from your 3 again. And that is a very, very important step for people to know, both patients and practitioners, because when you don't really know much about SIBO, what people usually have in their mind is they think it's like an infection, like a urinary tract infection or something or whatever, an infection that you typically take 7 to 10 days of antibiotics for. And with SIBO, we need multiple rounds. And so that's this indication of this arrow. Not everybody needs multiple rounds. For some people, 1 treatment round will do it. But for the majority, that's not enough. And so what can happen is, if you didn't know that, you do one round and you're not better. And so then you say, well, that treatment didn't work at all, when in fact it could have brought bacteria down very nicely. You just have to keep bringing it down lower. Or they'll say, I must not have SIBO. Maybe like you've heard of a main treatment for SIBO, for instance, like rifaximin or Xifaxan, and you're like that didn't work. Well, maybe I don't have SIBO. No, that's not the case necessarily. And third, and probably most disheartening, is when people say, well, I did a treatment and it didn't work, so I must be a tough case. I must have chronic, really difficult to treat SIBO. When all they did was did one treatment round. Really, they've just begun, and they're saying now that, they're hard to treat and nothing's going to work. So that is why it is so important to just understand that in this condition, the majority need multiple rounds of treatment. Now, the last thing is, so that's this arrow. Now, coming over to the left bottom, what if everything was successful, you got better, you were doing prevention, and then you relapse? So unfortunately, the statistics for SIBO are that 2/3 of cases relapse because the underlying cause is still present. 1/3 of cases, whatever was causing it has resolved and they are not chronic and they're done. And those are wonderful. And it's so wonderful when that happens. But unfortunately, the majority of cases have a cause that is still present. And that is now the time, if somebody relapses, to investigate, try to figure out what your underlying cause is. If you didn't relapse, like if you just get going on treatment, we don't know if you're going to relapse or not. And if you're not relapsing, we don't need to know about the underlying cause because you're not relapsing, so it must be gone. But if you've relapsed, that is the time to figure out what do you have that is causing SIBO, if you don't already know. Can we treat it? Can it be removed? Because if we can remove it, then we can stop the SIBO from coming back. And then because you have a relapse, you now need to treat it again because it's flared up again, it's relapsed. So you come back up around here and you treat it again. So that's the general outline, and those are the steps. So the steps are suspicion. You can just follow along the boxes here. Suspicion of SIBO, initial treatment, diagnosis, the main antibacterial SIBO treatment, and we also have diet, assessment along the way, prevention. If there's a relapse, which I'm putting as a step because it happens for so many people, then we identify the underlying cause and we retreat it. So that's the overview of the main steps. So hopefully you understand the general stages and the basic premise. So what I want to do now is I want to go through and just give you some more details. The course here, the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course, has all the details you need, but I just want to give you some of them today. So first, with the first and second line therapies, I'm going to just start right in here. This is just, as I mentioned, to represent practically how most people go about things. When they start to have symptoms, they try some simple approaches first, including practitioners. And I just want to give you a sense of some of the things that you can try. And if you already know you have SIBO, you've already been treating SIBO, these things can help as well. They're helpful for general digestive complaints. So the first thing I want to mention, and I actually brought a bunch of bottles out of my cabinet, so I'll stop sharing so I can show you. The first thing I wanted to mention is bile, and I don't talk about bile a lot, but let's see. This is a one I really like. I just happen to have it in my cabinet, and it's by Integrative Therapeutics, and it's called Lipotropic Complex. And bile is not vegetarian. If you're a vegetarian, bile comes from animal source. So mostly it's going to be ox bile, or it might be porcine bile. What bile does is it helps with liver and gallbladder detoxification. And it also can be very helpful for people with constipation. It can actually help improve constipation. This is not a product I would go to first if you have diarrhea. So for diarrhea patients, maybe this isn't your first choice. It may not bother you. It may not, but yeah. So Siobhan, were you indicating I should show it again?
Yes, please.
Oh, listen, by the way, for those of you who know, or those of you who don't know, You are welcome to order supplements through my full script dispensary, and Clarissa can, oh, she's already putting the link in there. You get 15% off everything, and you get access to some brands and supplements you can't just buy on Amazon. And what I did when I pulled these out of my cabinet to get ready for showing you is on full script, I just made a category for this training. So you'll see everything I'm talking about there. It's called 9-step SIBO training. And so when you get in there, you don't have to write it all down. They're there. So yeah, so bile is very helpful for constipation and for digestive support. Liver and gallbladder detoxification, very helpful when you have trouble with your digestion. Next would be bitters. So digestive bitters, I just happen to have this one in my cabinet. It's called Bitter X by Quicksilver Scientific. Yeah. But you can find these in any health food store, herbal bitters, Swedish bitters. A lot of my colleagues really like to start people off who have digestive symptoms with bitters. And these have several good effects for a potential SIBO patient. First of all, they stimulate the production of hydrochloric acid to come out in the stomach, and we need that to break down our food. So for general food sensitivities, this is very good. Also, bitters have been shown to have a mild prokinetic effect in the small intestine. So most people have SIBO physiologically because of a sluggish movement in the small intestine, even diarrhea patients, because they can have a fast movement in the large intestine while having a slow movement in the small intestine. And so this can help improve that movement a little bit in the small intestine, bitters. These are taken about 15 minutes before meals, and that can be really hard to remember to do. So maybe when you walk into the kitchen to start getting the meal ready, depending on how long the meal's going to take to cook, just take it then. If you're in a restaurant, when you order, take it. If you forget to take it, which is so common, 15 minutes ahead, it's really hard to get that timing. Just take it when you sit down. It's better to take it than not take it, right? So that's that. Another thing I like is IgG or immunoglobulins. As a general thing. So I have a couple here. I have Mega IgG. I happen to have this in powder, Mega IgG 2000. It also comes in capsules. This is what I have in my cabinet right now. And this does a bunch of different things that I really like. The big drawback to this product to just try when you have general digestive symptoms is it's expensive. And so it's hard to take sort of like that leap of faith. What's this going to help me with? So I'll just tell you why I like it for a potential SIBO patient is because it can help fight against, it's an immune system component. So it can help with resistance and fight against infection. And while SIBO isn't technically an infection in the way, say, a urinary tract infection is, it is a type of an infection. It's an overgrowth, a colonization, but this gives us some help against that. It gives resistance against bacteria. Also, it's been shown to really help with diarrhea patients, yet it doesn't constipate. So whether you have constipation or diarrhea, you can take it, but it can calm diarrhea. And maybe best of all, it's been shown to help heal leaky gut. And most patients with SIBO have leaky gut. So that is.
Can you show that again, Dr. C Becker?
Yeah, this is by Microbiome Labs. Many brands carry this, but Microbiome Labs Mega IgG 2000. And this is also not a vegetarian product. This is serum bovine immunoglobulins. You can do as a vegetarian substitute, you can use colostrum. It's not as concentrated with the immunoglobulins, although there are some versions that have a higher amount of those. So just briefly, it does a lot of other things. That's the main reason why I like it for a GI patient. But like for me, when I took it, it helped my skin complexion and my husband's. It actually helped my bloating and my food sensitivities a little bit. And also it helped I have genetic high cholesterol. It helped bring that down a little bit. Very interesting, right? So now next would be probiotics. Everyone, of course, knows all about probiotics. The issue with a SIBO patient is there can be a spectrum of tolerance. So some people do very well with them, others are aggravated. The only way to know is to try. But when you're thinking about trying probiotics, there's a few things to keep in mind. First off is I would recommend starting with probiotics that don't have prebiotics as a main ingredient. And so prebiotics are things like FOS, GOS, MOS, arabinogalactan, chicory, inulin. And if you see them in the main ingredients with a milligram listing, I would not choose that one because prebiotics are food for bacteria, specific food for bacteria. And so they can feed, basically they can be fermented by the overgrown bacteria and cause the same symptoms. Now that doesn't happen in everyone and it depends on the amount. But I would just say, if you're going to try them to see if you tolerate them, stay away from that in the main ingredient listing. And I want to share my screen and show you what I mean by the main ingredient listing, because I always get questions on this. I brought up, let me see, what did I bring up? Yeah, okay. So I brought up this is Therabiotic Complete. Dr. Sandberg Lewis and I gave this to, for the first 2 years we were treating SIBO, we gave this to everybody. Here's your Lactobacillus and bifidus. Here's the ingredients. Now, when we look in the other ingredients, see down here, it has inulin basically from chicory root. And so it doesn't have a milligram listing. And if we compare that to, this is another one by Claire that doesn't have any prebiotic in it. There's nothing here. It's just a base of cellulose. So, but then this is one, a different company that when we look at it, see here, it has Acidophilus bifidus and FOS with a milligram listing, 300 milligrams. And in the other ingredients, it's not down there, it's up here. So that's what I mean by, it's okay if it's in the base ingredients, the other ingredients, but avoid it with a big milligram listing. The other thing I want to mention about probiotics is Dr. Ruscio has this way of categorizing them into 3 categories, which is Lactobacillus acidophilus, those ones, probiotic yeast, which is Saccharomyces boulardii, and third would be spore-forming bacteria. And I have one of those in my cabinet to show you. So again, this is Microbiome Labs. A lot of people have heard of this, Megaspore Biotic. So that's a spore-forming one. And the point here is that if you've tried a probiotic without a prebiotic and you think it's bothering you, it's a good idea to try the other categories, because we see clinically very often maybe 1 or 2 of the probiotic categories isn't tolerated when a third is. And so that happened to me. I'm a sensitive patient. And oh, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned sensitive patients. Sensitive means you react to foods, supplements, and medicines pretty easily. So, and oh, I think I see Clarissa putting the list of things. And just a reminder again, you can see that in full script as well. But thank you, Clarissa. But I found I could, there was a time when I could only tolerate Saccharomyces boulardii, but not the other types. So it's very helpful to know that if you're going to be trying probiotics. Probiotics are one of the first things people try when there's digestive symptoms. Siobhan, did you need to say something?
Yes, first of all, I didn't realize my camera was on me while I was like typing answers and stuff. So I apologize if that was distracting, and then I figured it out. I wanted to just address that this is not medical advice, everybody. This is advice that you can use for your own good common sense, consider it educational, talk to your providers.
Thank you. I mean, of course, I should have said that. I assume that that's presumed. I'm just doing an educational lecture.
100,000%. But also, we're getting questions like, you just said it, Dr. C Becker, about like which probiotics are best. You have an individual, everybody, snowflake microbiome. I've coined that term. And so what's going to work for some people isn't going to work for others. And that's part of the frustration with all medicine, right? And all health education. So I just wanted to mention that. And there's a lot of trial and error, right, Dr. C Becker?
There really is. And that's the point of me mentioning those 3 categories. Right. You'll find probiotics that will have both Lactobacillus acidophilus and bifidus. That's category 1, probiotic yeast, and spora. There are some that have 2 or more of those categories together. It's just something to keep in mind, because many people do, get aggravated by symptoms with probiotics when they're supposed to be helping us, right, with our digestion. So that's a good thing to think about. Did you try all the different categories? Okay, now I don't want to spend too much more time on this. I want to move on, but just one last thing briefly is digestive enzymes. Now, I find digestive enzymes, it's one of the first things people try when they have food sensitivities. And that's really the key thing is these symptoms that are in SIBO come from eating, right? So, but I find, for SIBO patients, they're not necessarily the most helpful thing, but there are a few that are more targeted that I wanted to mention. So this is one I like, called Intolerance Complex. This is by Enzyme Science. And it's a bit more targeted towards carbohydrate intolerances. So, it has a little bit more lactase and other ingredients to help with the breakdown of various carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are what are feeding the bacteria. They eat those foods, they ferment them into gas, the overgrown bacteria. They ferment them into gas, and the gas goes on to cause our symptoms of bloating, of constipation, diarrhea, etc. So I like that one. And also this is a newer product that's a bit more specific to the SIBO community. It's called FODMate. And what this has is it has inulinase, and that helps break down long chains of fructose, which are very common in many vegetables and can really lead to a lot of bloating and symptoms. And so, by the way, enzymes are like bitters. You're supposed to take them, 15 minutes before eating. Something you can do with enzymes, if you forget, which I often do, is you can just open the capsule and either put it on your food or just put it on your tongue and swallow it down right when you're going to start eating, because then you're skipping the time the capsule would have to break down. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a sampling of the typical things people like to start as their initial treatments before they even know it's SIBO. So let me bring back up the algorithm for you. There we go. Get to my proper place in my notes. Okay, so the next is testing. Testing is vitally important because we need to know if a person has SIBO. You need to know if you have SIBO so you can choose more targeted treatments. And what we really need with the breath test is we need to know which gases are positive and how high, because that helps us choose the treatments we're going to use. And also, I don't think it's the best idea to start, bombing yourself with antibacterials if you don't know that that's what's needed. So, find out if you have it and let's figure out what the gases are. Now, I know testing can be a big issue because either it's too expensive for people or people's practitioners aren't prescribing it to them or giving it to them. So I wanted you to know we have, there are a couple of labs you can order directly from as a patient. One of them is True Health Labs. And Clarissa, hopefully Siobhan got you that link. We can give you the link.
I'll chat it to you, Clarissa.
So that is one place you can, and by the way, my preferred test is a 3-hour, 10-tube, if possible, lactulose breath test. And there are many different SIBO breath tests, but that is one of the main standards is lactulose, and that is my preference. The problem is if you live in the US, lactulose is a prescription item, unfortunately. It really shouldn't be, but it just happens to be. So you need somebody who can write a prescription to get that. And so that's where there can be a big stumbling block to getting the test. But these two labs, so True Health Labs, and the other one is Trio Smart. Trio Smart is actually a test that tests all 3 gases. That's new. This was been invented in the last couple of years. So that's wonderful. Most of our breath tests have been checking for hydrogen and methane. I have not mentioned that SIBO, there are three types, so to speak, based on the 3 gases: hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. And the methane gas, Siobhan mentioned in the beginning, the acronym IMO, that stands for intestinal methanogen overgrowth. And that is a new name for the methane type of SIBO. So, True Health Labs and Trio Smart. Trio Smart has given Siobhan and I a 20% off, I think, this month.
It is 20% off.
Which is really wonderful to help with, if finances are a block or an obstacle. So I just wanted you to know, if you're a patient and you're really having trouble getting the test, these are some options you can order. Of course, then you have to be able to know how to interpret it properly. And for that, I would refer you to our SIBO recovery roadmap course, we have, let's just see, as an example, you come out here, follow this yellow line, and there's a whole bunch of classes on that. The other thing is that the 2 labs I just mentioned to you, they are 8 tube tests instead of 10 tube tests. And so what I recommend doing when you have 8 tubes is sampling your breath every 22 minutes instead of every 15 minutes or whatever the test says to do. Sample every 22 minutes instead, because that brings you almost to 3 hours. And we need 3 hours for the best assessment of methane and hydrogen sulfide. So that is my recommendation there. Let me see what else I'm going to tell you.
Dr. Siebecker, I just want to say one thing. The Trio Smart 20% off coupon, which, by the way, we're not affiliated with them. We're not getting a shekel for this. This is just like something we've been wanting to share with our communities for a really long time. And
Yvonne went and asked, we were doing this webinar, and she went and asked, can you please give everyone a discount?
But it's only for the month of February, right? So I even asked if they could extend it, but they didn't get back to us. So just know for the next like 3 weeks, if you wanted it, that would be a way to do it. And Clarissa will post the coupon in the chat in a little bit. So just wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
You need a coupon code. I don't remember what it is.
I
Okay.
think you also need to go through the link we will share with you.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah. She'll get that to you. Okay, next, let's go to the next step. So now we've done testing. Now let's talk about the treatments. And so, as I mentioned, the treatments are based on the gases you have: methane, hydrogen sulfide, or a mixture of those gases. So first, let's just talk about the pharmaceutical antibiotics. The main one we use is rifaximin, and that is sold as Xifaxan in the US. Unfortunately, it's expensive, and it is not always covered by insurance. We have some suggestions of how you can get it more easily with better pricing in our course. There are assistance programs and other things. But the key thing with that is that it's used when you have hydrogen SIBO. And if you have methane present, either with other gases or just alone, then we use neomycin or metronidazole. Unfortunately, neomycin, there's a shortage of that right now. We found out the manufacturer stopped making it, and hopefully that won't last forever and it'll come back. So then there's some antibiotics we add with rifaximin when you have methane. And hydrogen sulfide, the main things we use there are not really antibiotics. We typically add bismuth in to the antibiotics if somebody has hydrogen sulfide. So then, and that's one round is a 2-week course typically. So then the elemental diet, so that's right here. This is a medical food beverage, and there are many different commercial options available. And it didn't used to be that way, so it's really great. There are so many. When we started, there was just Vivinex Plus, which is unflavored, and that's what was used in the study Dr. Pimentel did. But when they're unflavored, they don't taste very, very good. They're bitter and unpleasant, and it can be very difficult to take it without flavoring. But now so many companies and brands have made elemental diets with flavoring. And so some of them I don't have to lift up and show you, but some of them are like Physicians Elemental Diet, Elemental Nutrition by VitaAid, and Elemental. So, and I have a category on FullScript with all of those in there, so you can see them. So I think Physicians Elemental Diet and the one by VitaAid, you can only get through a practitioner. So that's one of the advantages of using my dispensary. I'm happy for you to get those. Elemental
That's
Diet
huge,
is
everybody. Sorry, but that's huge, because like I remember when I first wanted to do the elemental diet through the Physicians Elemental Integrative Therapeutics, I had a really hard time finding it and had to go through, it's not on your, CVS shelves. It's not even in your local health food store. Sorry, I just think it's a big deal.
Elemental diet is not the easiest treatment to do because you're only consuming this liquid beverage. The protocol by Dr. Pimentel, you're not meant to have any other food, just this liquid beverage. So that's difficult. I wouldn't recommend just starting that on your own. You really should have some information before you do something like that, even if you can obtain it. I'm just trying to give a disclaimer here. Okay, now Pharmaceutical antibiotics and elemental diet. As I mentioned, their course of treatment is about 2 weeks for one round. If a person has high gas, so maybe something like 55 parts per million or 60 parts per million, then we may stretch for the pharmaceutical antibiotics, we might stretch to 3 weeks, depending. We have a lot of things we have to think about, though, considerations for yeast overgrowth and other things like that. But one thing I wanted to tell you that's really like gold information is pharmaceutical antibiotics and herbal antibiotics, which I'll describe in a minute. They average on average, they lower people's gas by about 30 parts per million per treatment round, whereas elemental diet lowers it about 70 parts per million. So this is why a lot of people like to do elemental diet, even though it can be challenging, or, you know, it's not the most appealing thing to want to jump right into doing. It can lower more severe gas, more severe SIBO more quickly. So, you know, if you had 70 parts per million gas, you know you're going to need more than you can project and estimate. You might need more than one round of treatment with pharmaceutical antibiotics or herbal antibiotics, but you may only need one round with elemental diet. So if you were using pharmaceutical or herbal antibiotics, then you might want to, right at the beginning, do longer course of treatment. Now, for herbal antibiotics, the course of treatment is actually 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 weeks of herbal antibiotics equals 2 weeks of pharmaceutical antibiotics. So if we're going to be extending longer, it would be to 3 weeks with pharmaceuticals, but 6 weeks with herbals. And with herbal antibiotics, there's 2 main ways you can approach it. There are combination herbal antibiotic formulas that, like, every supplement company has. Pretty much any brand you would look at will have an antibacterial broad spectrum killing formula, really antimicrobial, because they'll have a lot of items in there typically, and they'll not just be targeting bacteria, but also yeast, like for candida or small intestinal fungal overgrowth, parasites, there'll be antiparasitics, and sometimes antivirals. And they're broad spectrum antimicrobial agents, basically. And many people use those. So there were some of those types of formulas that were studied for SIBO, Biotics, FC-Cytal, and Dysbiocide. I did not find very successful. I found them successful in patients that didn't respond to what we typically use, actually. So I would not recommend beginning with those. But the more typical formula would be the other one that was studied, which is Metagenics, Candibactin AR and BR. And I would say if you are wanting to start with a combination formula, I would prefer starting with that one. There are a lot of caveats about dosing and things that are missing in those, but I just wanted to mention what was studied for the combination type formulas. Now, what I do and what I studied with before and after a breath test to make sure it was working, and what I've been teaching for many years, is single herbs that we use just 2 herbs at a time. So what we use is we'll pick from, I can stop sharing in a minute. I have stuff in my cabinet I can show you. We pick from berberine. So there'll be products that are called berberine complex or berberine 500 or just berberine, oregano, or neem. And we'll use 2 of those together for the hydrogen type of gas. And so let me stop sharing and I can just show you so you can see. So this one's called berberine HCl. A lot of light here. I don't know how well it's coming across, but that's one type of product. Here's another one just called berberine. And then here's what, neem. Of course, now herbal antibiotics are all over the counter. You can buy these commercially, anywhere. And I have a category on FullScript called herbal antibiotics for this. So if somebody has methane, then we need to add allicin. We can also add a small combination formula called atrantil. This is atrantil that was studied to help with methane. And I did before and after testing with it, and I did find it to work. Now the allicin, what we like to do there is we like to use, allicin is an extract out of garlic, and it's sort of more purified. We don't want to use the whole garlic or garlic oil because that's very fermentable. Garlic is a very fermentable and aggravating food for symptoms for people with SIBO. It has a lot of FOS, one of the prebiotics, and it bothers a lot of people. So we use the more purified Allison. And the product that we typically use, it's sold in two forms. There's one called Allimax Pro, I have here, but the same product is sold under the name of AlliMed. I don't have the bottle to show you. And there's another one called Allison SAP, SAP. That one, though, is half the potency. So the price, it looks cheaper, but you have to take double the amount to get to what we need. Okay. And then for hydrogen sulfide, we typically add in bismuth, and or we use the oregano that I just showed you in high dose. Okay, so now that where we just did is we just talked about all of this. Now, diet, I'm not going to talk about today. We have multiple lessons in the course on that here, you know, very, very extensive and detailed lectures on it. It's too big of a topic to even grapple with on a quick go through on steps, right? But we have for you my quick start diet handout, and this is a great way to get going on a diet that isn't quite as tedious or complicated. So we have that for you. Okay, now relapse prevention. Well, you know, so we've discussed the assessment, but let's go over here. Let's say a person is now feeling better after the treatment. What we want to do is we want to get someone right on a prokinetic after they've done their antibacterials. So prokinetics are agents, whether they're pharmaceutical or natural, that stimulate that migrating motor complex in the small intestine I was talking about earlier. And that's really important because that is a cleansing wave that moves bacteria down and out of the small intestine, that overgrowth. It helps move it down and out. So now that we've reduced the amount of bacteria, we want that movement. We want to be sure it's moving so we can hold the gains we just made. So in terms of pharmaceutical, we have three that are the main ones we use. The main one is called Prucalopride, and I have it here. It's sold as, that's right, I forgot to share my screen again. So I was pointing to the algorithm and you weren't seeing, but I'll share it again in 1 second. So this is what that looks like. These are prescription. Now, Prucalopride is sold in the US as Motegrity. And once again, not a lot of people, depends on your insurance. Not everybody's getting it covered. Like I said, it sort of depends on a lot of things. But because of that, what a lot of people will do is they'll get it through Canadian pharmacies, which is where this is. So in the UK, it's called Resitran or Resalor. So, or in Canada, in various countries. So that's an option for you there. Let me share my screen again. And then the other two, am I sharing? Yes, I'm sharing. Okay, maybe I was sharing this whole time. I don't know if I was or wasn't. So the other two would be low-dose erythromycin, which is standardly an antibiotic, but in low dose, it works as a prokinetic. And then there's low-dose naltrexone, which is also called LDN for short. And that one needs to be compounded, and it has a lot of other wonderful benefits. It's anti-inflammatory, helps with pain. It helps balance the immune system. So it's used for autoimmune diseases and allergies. It can help with mood, like depression, and people use it for all sorts of things. It isn't technically a prokinetic, but it has a prokinetic effect. Has been demonstrated in studies. Not for everyone does it work that way. So sometimes it isn't the perfect match, or we double it up with another one. But those are our pharmaceutical options. And also, I remember, Siobhan, you had said in the past, you were able to just like Google and find coupons that helped with
This
like
just happened.
What?
Yeah. Yes. No, I'm sorry. I knew what you were going to say. Sorry. Yes. This just
you
happened.
say it. You do it.
I just got to switch my insurance, and I'd previously been paying $10 for Motegrity, which was like a miracle that I didn't appreciate until I got my new insurance, and it's $200 a month, but it was $2,000 a month without the coupon. So that was a big deal, obviously. So it's still $200. It's not nothing, obviously, but prior to that, when it was still Resalor, I was able to get it from a Canadian pharmacy, and it was still $200 a month. Again, not nothing, but much better than $2,000 a month. So, yeah. And I used the coupon that I found online. I just typed in Motegrity coupon, and it took me to the manufacturer's site. And then you do a little fill out some forms. And if you qualify, which does have to do with the type of insurance you have, you get the coupon, you tell the pharmacy, boom.
Okay, so now I want to tell you about the over-the-counter options. So there are a few that we typically use, and I'll just quickly show you I have a few here. One is Iberogast. It's a herbal tincture, several different herbs in it. And this is what the bottle looks like. They carry this in full script, but I tell you, it's been out of stock forever. You can also get it on Amazon. And then, so Iberogast is just a combination formula that's been well studied for all kinds of digestive symptoms. And so it can be used for symptomatic relief, but it also was studied to have a prokinetic effect. And in the condition of dyspepsia, and went head to head with pharmaceutical, not the ones I showed here, but other pharmaceutical prokinetics, and worked just as well. So that was amazing. And then there's ginger root, which a lot of people know of, like for nausea. One of the reasons it helps nausea is because it actually increases the downward movement of the stomach and small intestine. So you can take ginger root by itself. And then there are now a whole slew of prokinetic, like herbal combination formulas that have their main central ingredient as ginger root. And I happen to have one right here. This is by Vita 8, it's Prokine. And there's a whole lot of other ones. There's motility activator. I can't remember all the names. There's so many now. So once again, I have a whole category of Prokinetics in full script. You can see all the options there. So and Prokinetics are, let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to say about. So the thing with Prokinetics is you want to start taking it very soon after. I need to share my screen again. The reason we have it listed right here after the antimicrobial treatment is you want to start taking it, within a couple days of finishing those, because you really want to hold the gains you've made, because so many people need multiple rounds. You need a little time to assess, take another test and figure out if you do need another round. You just want something to help while you're assessing. So get on that pretty quick. And we take Prokinetics at night before bed typically, but sometimes we add them in the morning as well. And then something else I wanted to tell you. Oh yeah, and then the other main place we use them is once you're sort of when you're like feeling all better, you use them for prevention then. And we'll do it typically for 3 months, and then you can consider doing a trial removal. The other thing we have down here in prevention is diet, which you can now, when you're better, you can usually do a more expanded diet to tolerance, whatever you're tolerating, and meal spacing, which is leaving 3 to 5 hours between meals to allow for the migrating motor complex to clear bacteria throughout the day, because it only works during fasting. And then the last thing is the relapse. Oh, no, actually, I want to go over here and just mention retesting. And Siobhan, I know I need to wrap it up soon. But retesting, I talked about why you need to do it. But I wanted to stress, this is a question so many people have, when you do it. And that's within 2 weeks of finishing your antibacterial treatment. So, day 1 to 14, anywhere in that period. And the reason for that is because it's very common for people to start really backsliding at about day 14, at about 2 weeks, just on average. And so what we want to do is we want the test to show us what the treatment just did. Did it work? How much lower did we get gas? And then, move on to another treatment if we need to before a person really starts backsliding. Now we've got that prokinetic in there to help sort of prevent that, but we just don't want to wait too long because we're not really done if a person isn't done treating SIBO. So that's my recommendation. It's a standard problem where gastroenterologists will wait a month to test because they want to prove that SIBO's gone, but that is not how we're using this test. We're using it to guide our next treatment in the courses of multiple rounds, right? And also to ensure the SIBO is gone if it is, right? So, so we already talked about ways you can get a hold of some tests for yourself. Let me just see if there's anything else. And I will say, I think this is one of the main, other than maybe say Prokinetics or initial testing, this retesting is one of the areas that most gets missed, I think because of finances or access. And you just have to do what you have to do and make do with what you can. But I think if you've had trouble with your SIBO treatment and you're frustrated, I wouldn't skip this step. This is where when you get to the point where you're like, I need to do what I need to do to get this thing gone, you're going to want to be retesting. Okay, so I don't really need to spend any time on investigating your underlying cause. I have all kinds of classes about that in the course. So just as we're finishing here, now you know all the steps. We've discussed a lot of ins and outs of them. And take a look and just see, are there steps that you've missed if you've been treating your SIBO and you're frustrated with how it's going? Can you identify anything where you need to come back and do that step? Or if you're just beginning, now you'll have a really good sense of what's ahead of you. If your doctor or practitioner hasn't been educated, then you can help educate them. You can share this algorithm with them, and you discuss it with them, and hopefully they'll be open to that, so that you really get a sense of what needs doing here. So, take a good look at it. And my best advice is to be methodical as a way to increase your success. You can do whatever the heck you want, but the point of this is success, right? Really getting good results is step by step and be methodical. Okay, so Siobhan, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Siebecker. Wasn't that great? That was so good. And I know it's a lot. It is, but drink your water. Absolutely. So, we promised you some special goodies for those of you who weren't here at the very beginning, some handouts, including the algorithm. And we are going to give this out in about 15 minutes. As I stated in the very beginning, but I also did want to share with you, and some people have been asking about the course, the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course. On the other side of this, we will also get to the questions and answers. So I just wanted to share my screen briefly and show you that the whole course is based on, so this is what happened. I met Dr. Siebecker. We became mission mates, and we've done the SIBO SOS Summit together, and on and on and on, lots of work together. And I asked her to create a patient course because I knew that what she had was effective, efficient, evidence-based, and that everyone in the world needed to know about it. And this is what I wish I had known when I first started. So she did. She came to Florida. I went to Portland. We had it professionally edited. It's a beautiful thing. And she updates this course with relevant and important research. So it is a living, breathing course. We have question and answer sessions for you, much like you're about to witness. And what's so cool is the people that were in the course 2 years ago are still able to come to the future Q&As, and that will be for you too. So it is a supportive situation. It is there for you whenever you need it. And it is based on this algorithm that you're looking at right there. Now, one day I had this bright idea, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could have links on the side that take people right to the algorithm where they have that question, like about a SIBO diet? And so that's what we did. We created this like elaborate but very focused edition. And that's also interfacing with the course. So it's very organized, amazing teachers. You can tell some of the lessons are very short and some of them are a little bit longer, but they were all designed to be able to be consumed easily. It's on video. You can download the audio. It's on searchable, professionally made transcripts. So it's very professional and very approachable. It's like Dr. Siebecker and myself. We are super focused, but we're relaxed, but we're very focused on the mission, right? So it's not overly formal, but it is also very serious about getting the job done, which is what you were talking about, Dr. Siebecker, with relief and results. Here are some examples of the slides. Keep in mind, Dr. Siebecker has been teaching medical students and also presenting around the world these topics. The only way you would get, to have access to her, because she's not seeing patients right now, is actually through this method. And if you're a pro, we have a SIBO Pro course for you. And if you're a patient, sometimes I get really enthusiastic. I'll get Rolf and I'll be like, I'm Rolfer. No, I'm not. If you're a patient, stick with the patient course. The pro course is really so incredibly intense and advanced that you will do just fine right here. Trust me. So these are just some examples. The Prokinetics, this is an update, the hydrogen sulfide treatment updates. There's also a video. These are some testimonials from people who've taken the class talking about how they hope to keep their SIBO in remission. They're better. They would never have gotten a diagnosis without knowing what to ask for in this course. Gratitude for, I'm so glad I trusted my instincts and signed up. Newly diagnosed, or you've been at it for years, trust me. Following up to let them know that in the end, I made my decision because the cost is about the same as 2 visits to my doctor. And even though I get a one-on-one with her, I have so far received way more than 2 visits worth of information from the course. So I'm excited about that one too. Finished lesson 27. I can't describe how grateful I am for all of this information. I would pay for my doctor to take this course. You get the idea. And we understand that even if you're skeptical, because Allison and I are very selective and very focused and very good consumers as well. We think about that all the time when we are creating this information and the way we're presenting it to you, etc. So this is my friend Steve. How is he my friend? He joined the SIBO Recovery Roadmap and we became friends. And he reached out randomly one day. By the way, none of these testimonials are paid for. There are some trends right now in courses where they have a course version called the story. And for a discount on the course, you would take the course and at a discount, and then you would do a very elaborate testimonial for that course. It's an interesting idea. I can see the point. However, all these testimonials have not been through a discount or paid or anything like that. Just for ability's sake, I wanted to mention that. And so they reached out to us, which we love, of course, because we work so hard on this and we love to see their results. Here's Kanu, who also had great success. And we have something new. So if you all have been with us before, I know some of you have been here to multiple trainings. We do them a couple of times there. I don't know when we're doing the next one. We heard you loud and clear, and some of you wanted extra support, and I understand. So we created a premium edition. There are 2 choices. So I'm just going to share with you both right now. Both of them, the premiums on the right side. You get the 40 video lessons that I was just talking about, the 5 live Q&As throughout the year. So that's a big deal. Like, you're going to have support throughout the year. Both of them have that in mind. Searchable transcripts, quick start guide, printable handouts, instant unlimited access. So we don't drip it out. We have some friends who we love, who are great educators, and they drip it out. We decided not to do that because you're all in different places in the algorithm, right? Ongoing course updates, cooking classes from nutritionist friends of ours, adhesion masterclass, which is an underlying cause from the dear Larry Wern. Underlying causes masterclass. I know a lot of you were asking about underlying causes. That is an amazing masterclass. It's included. Her diet masterclass is included. Her treatments masterclass included in both. You get the idea. Prokinetics, both. Now, if you want to do the additional support, that's the premium on the right side. They're both amazing. This is the first time we've done this premium offering. You get 8 additional masterclasses, which are on my website for $59 each. They go out, every day, every week, picking these up because they're so special and helpful. And it's on parasites, stool testing, fabulous. Mold with Dr. Jill Krista, genius. Oh my gosh. SIFO and SIBO with Dr. Kapadia. Dr. Rao, who's also a tremendous gastroenterologist, very generous with his information. He also talks about SIFO and Candida. Some of you were asking that. And then constipation with Dr. Kimball, and then a bonus masterclass as well on SIBO and Lyme. Now, we curated these out of 50 masterclasses plus that we have done and hosted. We curated these to be very complementary to the content of the course for SIBO patients. So,
Siobhan, did you mention the group coaching sessions?
No. That's the big deal, right? I buried the lead. For the premium, thanks, Allison. You were getting 4 additional group coaching sessions with Dr. C Becker and me. Those are really special. That was the addition, the big chunk of the addition as well. So if that appeals to you, we'd love to have you. We're going to show you the prices in a second. If not, let me tell you that all those testimonials came from the standard, wonderful SIBO Recovery Roadmap. Okay, so they're both tremendous. I'm just giving you your options here. We do have a 2-payment plan for both. And then here's what the course looks like inside. I'm just going to zip through it because I've already described it, but it's very organized, very easy. It's a syllabus basically, and you click the thing and it goes to the lesson. There are at least 40 lessons. It's a lot, so don't be overwhelmed because no one's grading you, okay? No one's bugging you. You don't have to come to those Q&As, the coaching sessions prepared. You don't have to have ever opened it. We hope you do, and you will get most out of it if you do, but you do not have to have prepared questions in advance. Let's say you can't come to the live sessions. Kitty Cat says hi, by the way. You can pre-submit your questions in advance. So that is what I wanted to tell you there. There she is. There's Dr. Siebecker. And thanks for joining us today. We're in great shape time-wise. Let me get you the prices because I know that's on people's minds. And I'm scrolling. We're scrolling. There are some of the cooking classes with our dear friends and overcoming healing obstacles with Dr. Megan Taylor. Here they go. So it's $298, usually $497 for the regular SIBO Recovery Roadmap course. And we have people so constantly picking it up at the higher price. I understand you need it when you need it, but periodically we do these sales. And so that's an opportunity for you to get that special price. And then it is $997 for the premium edition. Not for everyone, very limited to about 20 people. And if that's got your name on it, join us for that. Hold on for just a second.
Siobhan, there was a question I just see that wasn't in the Q&A box, but in chat about the coaching sessions.
Yes.
From
there. Oh, by the way, okay, thank you for that. Okay, hold on. Drum roll, please. This is not with coaches. This is with Dr. Siebecker.
And Siobhan.
and me. I do know a lot, but I'm no Dr. Siebecker, but it is not with coaches. I know wonderful practitioners who have wonderful coaches and it works great. But in this case, those coaching sessions are, Megan's great. It is with Dr. Siebecker. Okay, so they are, you will, for the premium edition, be able to upload your breath test when you ask the question. That's also a little bit different. But let me tell you, if you're like $997, I can't afford that. No way, Jose. That's cool. No problem. $297 approximately is fantastic. That's what we've had this whole time. And people have been getting amazing results. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to do something, Dr. Siebecker.
I'm sorry, I distracted you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. My cat's up here. You're asking me this great question. Oh, I remember. Hang on. Okay, I got you. I'm actually going to stop the recording for a second. Okay, that being said, we're really glad you're here. We hope that you will open up those emails that we're going to be sending you with the replay, etc. If you're on the email list, then you definitely want to get on the email list so we can send it to you. But I'm just talking to the Facebook people who are receiving the streaming, because those of you who are here obviously on our email lists. So Dr. Siebecker, in 5 minutes, I'm going to be releasing those handouts. But right now, we'd like to ask you some questions.
Great.
Okay. I will say there are over 150 questions. I've been doing my best to answer some. Reserve the good ones for you, the other good ones for you, Dr. Siebecker.
They're all good ones.
They are all good ones. They really are. So I will do my best. Okay. We are going to, let's get this one out of the way because we have a lot of questions about the food marble. Can you just go what the food marble is, Dr. Siebecker?
I forgot to mention food marble. My apologies. Yes. It must have slipped my mind.
Of course.
Food marble is a new breath test. It's a device that is handheld. I have it. Hold on, let me show you. It looks like this. And so it's a handheld breath test device that you can just have at home and you can use it over and over. It's for repeat use. And so that is just incredible. It brings the cost way, way down. It's incomparable, right? Because you buy this, I think this is about the cost of one breath test, if I'm not mistaken. I cannot recall, and then you can just use it over and over and over. And we have, Siobhan asked them for a discount code, and Clarissa just put it in the chat.
She did.
Yeah. So we have Siobhan arranged to get our people a wonderful.
I ask for discounts for the communities a lot.
Well, and also she browbeats them, strong arms them
in a loving way,
giving us best discount of anybody.
Yeah, this is the lowest price you can buy anywhere, the Food Marble Air 2. And if you do pick it up, you can also email us the receipt and let us know. And we will also send you a very special Food Marble
Webinar, a masterclass.
a webinar and masterclass.
Yeah. So in terms of like, what can I recommend or not? I guess the main thing I want you to know is that this overcomes some obstacle in terms of price, right? It makes retesting much more accessible. But if you were in the US, still you would need a prescription to get lactulose as the substrate for what you're doing your test. One thing you can consider to do is ask if you have a family doctor, a primary care doctor, ask them if they'd be willing to prescribe it, because it's not harmful. Just the lactulose, I mean. It's used as a laxative. Even if you have diarrhea, it doesn't matter. Like you still use it for this test. So a lot of times family doctors are willing to, it's nothing risky, you know what I mean? So they're willing to just give you a prescription so you can take this test. So that's one thing you could do. The second thing you could do is you could consider using fructose as your testing substrate. And you can get that, well, my local grocery store, health food store sells it in the bulk bin, but you can also get it on Amazon, or Food Marble themselves sells like a challenge kit with packets of different carbohydrates, and they sell fructose. And then you can use fructose. Now, the thing with using fructose for a SIBO breath test is this comes from Dr. Horrelak, a wonderful colleague of mine who did some testing and found this was a very, very good substrate and good way to diagnose SIBO. So I haven't done a lot of that myself. I'm just giving you his recommendation. And in terms of the Food Marble itself, can I recommend it as a SIBO breath test? I'm not finished testing it myself. I don't have all the data I need to tell you what I think of it. I can tell you that I think it's wonderful for convenience and financially. But my colleague, Dr. Goldenberg, we had him come do a masterclass. That's the class that Siobhan will send when you buy the Food Marble. He feels confident in it. And so I can tell you, a colleague of mine, just like Dr. Horrelak, I cannot tell you from my own data. I'm very intense with my own data. I need years usually before I'm sure of something. So that's how you know you're getting quality. So I can just tell you, two colleagues of mine that I respect feel good, one about the fructose breath test and one about Food Marble. So there you go.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. Can SIBO be chronic? So can you tie that answer in with underlying causes, Dr. Siebecker?
Yeah.
Please,
so when I was taking you through everything and I talked about relapse, and I mentioned the statistic that studies show 2/3 of people, of cases of SIBO relapse. Relapse means chronic. That's what that means. Chronic relapsing, right? So when something isn't chronic, when you treat it, it goes away and then it doesn't come back. But in this case, you treat it, it goes away, but then it comes back. And the reason for that is because something is always causing SIBO. It has to be caused by something, and that cause has not been removed. And so if the underlying cause of SIBO is still there causing SIBO, we can get that bacteria down, but whatever's underneath there will just make it happen again. So that's why we want to, if we relapse, identify our underlying cause, see if it can be gotten rid of. It not always can it be, though. So in terms of chronic, the really important thing I want to talk about there is that most people, when they hear the word chronic, to them that equals pain and suffering forever. And most people will equate the word chronic with, as bad as I feel at this moment, I will feel forever. And that is not the case, because we know that when we use antibacterials to treat SIBO, we get, even in a chronic patient, usually 80 to 90% symptom resolution, which is extraordinary for any disease, actually, for any condition. So we can get people to 80 to 90% symptom relief, and then that will last for some time, months or a year, depends on the person, with those Prokinetics, the preventative diet, the meal spacing. But then at some point, it'll creep back. It'll come back. That's a relapse. So then we treat again. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure you know that chronic doesn't mean feeling horrible every day forever.
This is what I also say in all the summits I'm interviewed in and podcasts, having a chronic condition that is managed, you can feel 100% better than an unmanaged chronic condition. So just to add to that. Okay. Karen, we're definitely going to send you out a replay. We talked a lot about food marble, a lot of questions.
Mom, did you send the handouts out?
No, it's 5:17. Time to do that. Thank you. So Clarissa, would you please post those links or the link into the chat? So Dr. Siebecker is going to answer some more questions, but we wanted to honor the timing. Thank you very much. We told you at the beginning it was being about an hour and 15 minutes. You stayed until then. Thank you so much for listening to what we had to say. So there are your handouts right there. And then later on tonight, we will get you the replay. Okay. And so we're going to be on here for a few more minutes talking with you about your Q&As. And remember what I said when I stopped the recording. Let's see here. Okay. Dr. Siebecker, some patients are having their doctors just test once for SIBO. Then they don't want to do the retests. So I was wondering if you could pull the algorithm back up and just show where that is. What can people say to their doctors other than, I need to find a new doctor maybe, if they don't want to retest? What are your suggestions there?
Yeah, so the retesting is down here, this yellow box in the bottom right, when you are not all the way better yet, right? That's a very hard one. It's going to depend on the individual, the practitioner you're working with. Where we really get into trouble is the power dynamic, right? With the doctor thinking they know more than the patient, but now you've listened to this lecture, right? So one would hope that the personality of the person you're working with is open enough that you can talk with them. So just try your best. Say that you listen to a training from a specialist on this, who's won awards in it and etc. I don't know, whatever you think will convince them. And this is the steps that I use. And you can explain the reasoning. And the reasoning is to make sure it's gone. And if it isn't gone, we use the gas level and which gases are present to know what treatment to give. And I went through that with you when I described which herbs and which which antibiotics and herbal antibiotics are used for which gases, right? Plenty more details in the course. So you're just going to have to try and talk to them. The other thing is we did just give you now 3 tests you can order on your own. And the interpretation we describe in the course. So you can, look, if push comes to shove, that's sort of why we're sharing this is empowerment. I also have, of course, training practitioners and I do free webinars. I do at least 6 or 7 of them every year. I have a huge thrust on training practitioners so that you don't have to deal with that. But I'm doing my best to reach people. So if you have to, you could order it yourself and then you can learn the interpretation in the course. Okay.
Let's see. Wow, your questions are so good. Can you just verbalize some of the typical underlying causes, Dr. Siebecker, of SIBO and IMO?
The number one most common underlying cause is food poisoning or acute gastroenteritis, bacterial gastroenteritis. So food poisoning, stomach flu, traveler's diarrhea. That's an acute, people don't think of that as a disease because it's acute, right? It just happens. You have the exiting of substances from your body in both directions. It's horrible. And then what can happen is either right away, or it can be up to 3, even 6 months later, you develop the SIBO based on it. It's basically autoimmune triggered, and it can cause it can lead to SIBO and IMO. The studies were done showing a higher percentage of people are more likely to show up with the diarrhea type, the hydrogen type, or the mixed type. But I've had many patients test positive. There's a test for this, by the way. It's called IBS Smart. It tests if you've gotten your SIBO from food poisoning, IBS Smart. And So, but I have lots of patients with methane positive on that. I haven't seen hydrogen sulfide show up on that yet, just because I haven't been testing people. So I don't know the correlation with that one yet. And when the original studies were done, we didn't have hydrogen sulfide testing. So I can't give you the correlation there, but it can cause any type of SIBO. Sorry, I'm going on. I need to shorten this. Now, other things that can cause SIBO are scar bands called adhesions that form in the abdomen. They can come from surgery. They can come from accidents, sporting accidents, car accidents, fall off a bike, etc. A fight, if you were punched or something. They're a response to injury and inflammation. They can come from, appendicitis, things like that. And it's very common for people to have adhesions, extremely common for people to have adhesions in the abdomen. Whether or not those are going to lead to SIBO is another matter. So that's another thing. And then other conditions that can lead to SIBO are diabetes, hypothyroid, like Hashimoto's hypothyroid, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Parkinson's, parasitic infection can lead to it, Lyme disease, mold, many other conditions, also some medications. So opioid, painkiller, narcotics are kind of one of our main ones there. Antibiotics have been clinically, we see that many patients feel they got their SIBO after antibiotics, and we do have one pilot study showing some antibiotics at least can slow that small intestine movement. So it is very interesting to think about the fact that if someone thinks or did get their SIBO from antibiotics using a pharmaceutical antibiotic to treat it, but we do find it helps. In fact, studies have been done showing that when the main antibiotic rifaximin is used to clear SIBO, the motility gets better because the bacteria help slow it as well when they're overgrown.
Okay, my light just went out, but that's okay. I'm lit from within. Is having endoscopy necessary for SIBO testing? Doctor is pushing for this. Hey, Deborah.
Oh, it's certainly not necessary. I would imagine what they're wanting to do is rule out other conditions now, like celiac disease, for instance. You have to make the decision that's right for you, but just as a objective physician, I like as much information as I can have. So like, for instance, if I was going to see you, I'd be glad if you had an endoscopy, so long as you feel that's the right decision for you. I'm not telling you what to do. Because then we have all the information that gives. It's not a typical test for SIBO, but you can be tested for SIBO with an endoscopy, but your doctor would need to know what to do. They have to, it's not the best option because really there's rather advanced machinery that needs to be used, that device that needs to be used that protects the sample correctly that they use in research. But still, they can take that sample and they have to know where to send it off to get it tested. I doubt they'll be testing your SIBO that way. But if you do get the endoscopy, ask them to test your enzyme levels that are along the lining of your small intestine. That would be very helpful to know, like to know how you're doing with your lactose enzymes and other carbohydrate digesting enzymes. If you're going to get the test, get as many things tested while they take a sample of you as possible.
Heck yeah, while you're there. Okay, Deborah, some groups say you cannot heal as a vegan. I cannot eat animals or anything from animals. Do you include vegans in your diet plan?
Siobhan, you start talking and
I'll talk now for just a second. So I'm a vegetarian. I have been since the 80s. And there are a lot of people that swear by a carnivore diet because there's no fiber in that. And so they're controlling their symptoms for SIBO, because the diet, remember, just controls your symptoms. It does not cure SIBO.
I did not discuss that.
I know I'm popping that. So when I say remember, I'm like, remember yourself, Siobhan. The elemental diet is different, as Dr. C Becker said. So I'm not saying you need to get this book. You can if you want to, but I do have recipes in there that are vegan. And here's why I did that, because if you are a vegetarian or vegan, having the vegetable fibers do sometimes elicit symptoms. And that's what we're talking about here, how the foods just manage symptoms. And one of the bigger triggers is fibers and carbohydrates that are fermentable. So that's where the low FODMAP diet comes in. And this is all explained in the course. But you can absolutely handle this as a vegetarian or as a vegan. It is a little bit harder, full disclosure, but it's absolutely doable. I do it. It's fantastic. And the reason why I actually limited my audience in a certain way, theoretically, but not by doing my recipes only vegan, it's because of this. If you eat meat or protein of whatever, you steam it, chop it, fry it, sizzle it, whatever, you put it on top of the other food, right? So like there's a Caesar salad with chicken. There's a Caesar salad with tofu. The harder part is the other stuff. So that's why I did that for my own personal, but also because it's so versatile that way. So take a breath. You are not doomed. This whole thing, everybody, is about hope. It is about results. It is about answers. I know what it's like to go down these rabbit holes, just on the soapbox for a minute. And that is why this course exists. So you do not have to waste any more time, money, or stress and energy on trying to figure out what your next steps are. This is the reason for this course. I'm so happy that you're here. If you join us, we would love it. If you can't, we get it. But this training, incredibly invaluable, free. We'll send you the recording. If you do want to join us for the, 5 additional Q&As for the standard, and then plus 4, I got to tell you something else, plus 4 additional different small group coaching calls with Dr. Siebecker. There's Zoom with Dr. Siebecker, where you can upload your breath test with your questions. That's the premium edition, along with your extra. Here they are with the extra
Master classes.
Thanks, Allison. I'm trying to get to the dates. We do have the dates listed in the course for them. And we do that. Sorry to just give you seasickness by scrolling. Here they are. Thanks. Sorry. You get the 5 live Q&As with the regular sessions, with regular course. Here are the dates. The March 8th one coming up, that is just for this cohort. So if you're in the other cohorts, semesters, whatever you want to call them, you're invited to April 13th, July 11th, September 18th, November 20th. If you sign up today, then the smaller group goes to the March 8th one as well. Now, if you want to do the premium, you get all that, and you get to do the premium edition as well, which are those 4 exclusive small group coaching sessions. Why did we do them? March 15th, 28th, April 12th, and 25th. We did 4 of them within 8 weeks, very much on purpose. Today's Feb 10. The chance to get any of these discounts and bonuses closes Feb 16. So Dr. Siebecker and I went out a month, right? Giving you a chance to get a breath test if you needed one between February 15th and March 15th. So you could show up if you wanted to. You don't have to the first live group coaching, small group coaching with that breath test. Remember, whether you do this or not, you still can get 20% off a Trio Smart breath test. You can search the chat for that information just for the month of February. That was something we've been wanting to do. I called up Paige at I've been bothering them for a long time about this at Trio Smart. They did grant, lovingly bothering them. And they did grant it to us, but it's just for the month of February. Okay. So
Sean, I want to come back to that question about vegan.
Thank you.
And just say that, so thanks for everything you said.
Yeah, sure.
Your best bet, so just adding on to what Siobhan said, your best bet will be to take a look at the FODMAP diet and get the app if you don't have it. It's very helpful. They have specified amounts, like cup or measurement amounts of like beans, various beans that you can that they found their IBS patients. That's not FODMAPs is not low FODMAP diet is not specific for SIBO. It's like general digestive symptom, under the category of IBS, but they specified measurements of beans that are tolerated per meal by the patients they tested. So that's going to be really helpful for you. And then, white rice, not brown rice. But that is only if you find that is what works for you. You might find you can tolerate brown rice. You might find you can tolerate more of the beans than they've specified. It's like 1/8 or 1/4 of a cup per meal. So that way, I'm just mentioning that so you can get your complete protein met. So that diet is helpful because it looks at things like that. So you might, want to take a good look at their app. That is, by the way, there are all sorts of I call them imposter apps. You want it to be the Monash University low FODMAP app. Okay, Monash University low FODMAP app. So I just wanted to mention that for you. And also for anyone else who is a vegan or, in that situation, we can use diet is a massive help to people in controlling their symptoms when you have an ongoing underlying cause, so that you're going to have SIBO recurring and maybe you have some low level of symptoms there. Diet can really, really control that. If you are a vegan, you might not get as fantastic of a dietary control. So then your emphasis is going to be, you're going to do it the best you can with what I just mentioned. Then your emphasis is going to be more on the antibacterials and finding your underlying cause. Okay, so there.
Ingrid is saying you can't get on to info@sibosos.com. That's an email address where we have wonderful, small, delighted, dedicated customer service people who can help you. So it's an email address. After having a stomach bug, how soon can I take a breath test?
Right away.
Okay.
Because you see some people, they get the food poisoning and it's like the vomiting and, maybe very, very intense diarrhea that occurs during food poisoning, that calms, but then they're left with the symptoms of SIBO or IBS, like maybe the diarrhea never stops. Maybe it's not as explosive. Maybe it is or it could be constipation. So in a case like that, you could do it right away. If you've had food poisoning and you don't have any symptoms, I think it's unlikely that a breath test will be positive, but you could still try the Trio Smart. The thing is that, IBS Smart. The thing is that in some people, it seems to be there right away. In others, it takes 3 to 6 months to develop. So it's a matter of your particular case. When has it developed? We wouldn't know. So you could take a test, it could be negative, and 3 months later, it could be positive.
Yeah, let's talk about lentils and beans. Patricia is saying, is it possible to get SIBO after having Crohn's and eating too much lentils and beans?
Wait, say that again. I just saw something. Let me answer. I just saw this chat pop up, which I get distracted by them sometimes.
That's why we don't have you chat during the session, people.
I try to do my best, but this is a good one. She says, is there a course for people with SIBO and CFO? We have 2 huge master classes in the I think it might be only the premium edition on CFO. Okay. Yep. So that premium edition has from I am not an expert in CFO. I know about it. We brought the world's top experts that we know in CFO, Dr. Rao and Dr. Kapadia, to discuss it with you. So you have it there. But now let's get back to your question on the lentils. Say it to me again.
Let me just say this, that we're throwing the word masterclass around here. It is literally getting darker in my office right now. We're throwing the word masterclass around here like it's, they're intense. They're phenomenal. Like people,
they tell you everything you need to know. For anyone who's ever watched our master classes, you probably know. And master, like for instance, Dr. Rao is I'd say one of the top 15 gastroenterologists in the world. Renowned in the world.
Phenomenal.
We brought him to give a class on it, right? And
we're not playing
language we can all understand. That's how good he is, right? So
we're not playing. Like we only bring you quality information.
Okay, lentils question.
Lentils. So she's had Crohn's. She's wondering if by eating too many lentils and beans during Crohn's, could it have led to SIBO?
This is a philosophical question that many people struggle with. By eating carbohydrates of any kind, right? Whether it's beans, I've had so many people worried that they ate too much junk food when they were in their teenage years. And whatever it is, did I give myself SIBO? No, that doesn't cause SIBO. What causes SIBO is when the migrating motor complex in the small intestine slows down, or I'm just simplifying it right now, or there are adhesions that are causing a partial obstruction for the bacteria that normally would be passing through to move through the small intestine. When you have Crohn's is, I didn't mention IBD is a cause of SIBO. So Crohn's leads to SIBO through many different mechanisms, but the main one is adhesions.
Wow.
But there's also slow migrating motor complex. So what would likely have happened is, there's a very, very high percentage of inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, or ulcerative colitis, of those patients get SIBO. And what likely would have happened is you were already getting it. And so then how would the beans come into this? They can aggravate it, right? So like you were probably going to get it no matter what, because of these physiologic underlying causes, right? Slow migrating motor complex adhesions. But then by tossing beans in there, which are, so what they have GOS, a prebiotic that is really just feeds bacteria, right? Just fermentable by bacteria. Whatever bacteria was already starting to overgrow was sustained, but it didn't cause it. And so what if you take the beans away? Well, then your symptoms get a little better, but does the SIBO go away? No, you still have adhesions, and usually what we need to do is we need to use killing agents to get that bacteria out of there. Then we use Prokinetics and diet, but Prokinetics to help keep it that way. But if you've had adhesions and slow migrating motor complex, they're going to build back up again. And those are the relapses. So I just, the diet really, you customize it to yourself to help your symptoms when you need that. But please don't have the guilt that is causing your SIBO.
Oh, heavens.
So don't, because we already have enough ways,
Yeah.
right, psychologically, where we feel at war or adversaries with the food because it causes these symptoms, right? So don't heap that on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely not. I just wanted to welcome Mary to the course. And let's see, Rebecca to the course. We got you. Cindy, got you. Janice, Amanda, I think you just did Food Marble. Let's see here. Thank you so much. We're so excited. Vicky, hi, good to have you as well. And Karen, great. Gail, great. I mean, it's just great. We're super
Welcome,
excited.
everybody.
We love doing this. Ingrid, fantastic. Let's see here. We have Mitch. Hey, Mitch, good to have a guy. We do have a lot of guys. Bernadetta, nice, great. All right, Amanda, excellent. Come on in, people. Now's the time. Lena, another Lena, Lina. Ingrid, Mitchell, I think we already got you. Okay, so let's do 5 more minutes, Dr. Siebecker, and then we'll let everybody go do your thing Friday. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. And if you can, pop some love into the chat for Dr. Siebecker. She works so hard and does such a beautiful job. And while you're doing that and deciding about the course, and you know what else I'm thinking, now is the time to make those moves. So if one's SIBO is caused by antibiotics, is the likelihood of relapse the same as for someone whose SIBO was caused by something else or an underlying condition versus antibiotics? Interesting question.
It's such an astute question. The truth is we don't know, because we don't really know what has happened. I think there could be a suspicion that, this is theoretical, that it could be temporary, the damage to the migrating motor complex. But we don't know that, right? Because what exactly was the mechanism that slowed the migrating motor complex from the antibiotics? Is it temporary? Is it a mechanism that can be corrected? Like, for instance, is there some kind of microbiome issue that then impacts the migrating motor complex? I really haven't properly seen real studies on that. Everybody wants to we all wanted to make that jump right when we were all first learning about SIBO, but I haven't seen anything on that. But yeah, but we don't know. So the way we'll find out is by studies, but in you is by eradicating the SIBO, using your Prokinetics. Then if you're doing well, you could stop taking the Prokinetic and let's see if you relapse. That's how we'll know. And we just take it from there. But there are people there's a third of cases in studies that show they get rid of their SIBO and it doesn't come back. Well, I will say that is as far out as the study period went, because there are many people, and I hope that isn't like being a Debbie Downer, but there are many people who they eradicate the SIBO and it's not for a year that SIBO relapses, even without even Prokinetics, right? So that's very common. And the study period didn't go out that long. But anyway, we'll know when we see if you relapse. And so, but anyway, for people who don't relapse, their underlying cause went away. And in much higher chance that the underlying condition, we know there isn't an underlying like disease, but why did they slow the migrating motor complex? Was there damage? What was that damage? We just don't know.
Do people using Prokinetics to reduce the risk of recurrence need to take them for life?
Oh, such a good question. Often, yes. If you have chronic ongoing SIBO, we need Prokinetics ongoing to manage those, lengthen those remission periods. You don't have to take a Prokinetic. So if you find you don't want to or something, you can go without it, and then you'll just see how you do, and then you can compare that to when you were on one and make decisions. Also, we have six different ones that are our primary ones in terms of categories. And if you didn't do well with one, you just move to another, try a different one. But I will say that most people who have ongoing, chronic SIBO, they love their Prokinetics.
I do. Yeah.
Love it like crazy. They don't ever want to stop. So
yeah. Sometimes they do apparently stop working, and then Dr. Siebecker has a system for cycling through them.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Let's see. All right. We do need to go as well. Magnesium is not a prokinetic, by the way, just FYI. I'm going to get
magnesium is
that
a
one out.
laxative, and also
Wonderful.
those secretagogues, Trulance, Amatiza, and what's the other one? Linzess. Those are not prokinetics. Those are laxatives.
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. This is an opportunity. If it's right for you, we'd love to see you there. If not, we totally understand. Timing's everything, right? But there's never been a better time other than yesterday, last year, 5 years ago, to deal with your SIBO. So if you have been looking, if you have been struggling to follow and find the right fill in the blank to help you, I really know from a patient's perspective and from being, running a 26,000 person SIBO Facebook group, the SIBO SOS community, that people are suffering, and they're going to doctors and practitioners who have not been properly trained in some cases. And in some cases, yes, they have, and they've taken Dr. Siebecker's pro course, or they're open. You can hand them, a study. And like one of my first GI doctors said, oh my gosh, thanks. They didn't teach me this in school. He was very open. Boom. It was a beautiful thing. But it was after I had gone to Ayurveda, acupuncture, all amazing, personal trainers, steroid shots, colonics, reflexology, love it, massage, thousands and thousands of dollars of trying to figure out what was going on with me. And then I got a diagnosis finally, found Dr. Siebecker, and swore that whatever I learned, I was going to share with the world. And that is why we are all here. So thank you very much for being here. We do hope to see you in the course, and please take good care no matter what. And Dr. Siebecker, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate you and your work.
Thank you everyone so much for coming. And I really hope you have hope. And just here's a big hug to everybody.
Okay. Bye, Doc.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Oh, I'm so sorry, Peter, that no one believed you for 6 years. I'm glad you are here with us. We get it. I mean, I, have stories in my book about Dr. Run 3 Miles, who told me that, that's really what could help. And, I had IBS, and sorry about that. I don't really have an answer for you. Here's an antidepressant. And I was like, not acceptable, not acceptable. Dr. Siebecker didn't mention this, but she started the SIBO Center with Dr. Stephen Sandberg Lewis in Portland, Oregon. It doesn't exist in that way anymore. So I know, because I can hear you guys going, oh, I'll go there. It doesn't exist like that, like they had it before. So they did double studies, lots of double testing of before and afters with this protocol. Like, they vetted it, and it does work. If you do it on your own, there are a lot of pitfalls. It does, I mean, some people can do it, but what I would suggest is if you want some support, if you want to be able to go back to this information time and time again, I just talked to some brilliant people who I love who are doing an incredible course, and it's for a year. And then you're going to have to rebuy it. And I get it. I get it. I really understand why they're doing that. But we decided in our personal approach that we would not be doing that. So we have people who bought this course 2 years ago. They paid what they paid, and they're still coming to Q&As all these years later. So you are buying it at a special price with a discount, and you're going to be able to come to the Q&As we've talked about and the ones we do in the future. So, and by the way, those dates we're really pretty good about sticking with those dates. Obviously subject to change, but we work really hard to make sure they happen. Remember, you don't have to show up. You can just do a pre-submitted question. We do send out those recordings to the people who are enrolled. And so the people who signed up 2 years ago are still getting the replays of the current Q&As. They're found in the course. The course is delivered through a portal called Simplero. It's super easy to navigate. We've been using it for years. It works really well. There you go. So I'm going to show you to answer your question, Marianne. Let me show you real quick. And if you wanted those handouts, good, Kathleen, I'm glad you liked it. Be sure to scroll in the chat. Your coupon Heidi didn't take, then just email us at info@sibosos.com. Maybe Clarissa, you can put the email address in there. Yeah, we'll fix it up. Hey, Rochelle, I'm your hero. Really? Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you. So here's the lineup of what you'd be receiving. Again, we really carefully curated which masterclasses out of over 50. And then you do get those 4 additional small group coaching classes. We didn't put the word small there, but they are small. And this is limited to 20 people, the premium edition, by the way. So again, we've had a lot of people sign up for the regular SIBO Recovery Roadmap course, and it's been incredibly effective. We just added the premium edition. Here's some slides from the course for people who had been wanting it, right? So there you go. And by the way, if you're already enrolled and you want to upgrade to that premium, email us at info@sibosos.com and we'll help. This is the algorithm with links that take you to the proper lessons. It's just like a quick cheat sheet, some additional classes. Here's the price. So the discount is usually, the price of the course is usually $497. And so the discount, we're down to $298. So let's take it from $500 to $300. That's nice. It's a savings of $201. And then the premium edition with all those extras is $997. Small group, you get the $500 off the course enrollment because it's usually $1497. You get the 8 curated masterclasses and those extra small group coaching sessions. Either way, you're in great shape. You're going to get support, just different levels, and you're going to get the information that you need. With that, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Clarissa behind the scenes and our entire team who pulled this together for us. It's a beautiful thing, and I really, really appreciate that you all care about yourself enough to take the time to be here at this training. So I appreciate you all very, very much, and you're an inspiration to me, and I know to Dr. C Becker too. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. That was almost 2 hours. But that's what we really wanted to share with you, is that information. And don't forget that full script is really nice because it's 15% off, not just the products she was talking about today, but they have shouldn't say this, but they have 20,000 professional grade supplements there, which is really nice and gets you that discount. So if you wanted to join us, we care, everybody. Thank you so much, everyone. So glad to have you. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in those Q&As. And Conley, email us at info@sibosos.com. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you.